topic, that is web apps. We are going to discuss about the app services. As part of this app services, okay, we are going to discuss about the web apps. Okay, so web app is like a kind of manager service. Okay, and I would say it's a PaaS service. Till now, we were discussing most of the IaaS services, right? Like VM, storage, network. So these are all comes under IaaS. That is infrastructure as a service. In the beginning we discussed, okay, so some of the cloud services model, that is like IaaS, PaaS and SaaS, right? So till now whatever we discussed, most of the things will be part of IaaS. So now, okay, so we'll discuss at a high level about the PaaS services. So web app is a PaaS service, that means platform as a service, and it's a managed service. Everything is managed by Microsoft. And why do we use the web apps? Like, let's say, if at all if you wanted to host any application, let's say it may be like a .NET application or a Java or a Ruby or any containerized application, you can just host that code into this particular web apps, and we can have a highly available up and running application. Okay, so majorly web apps will be used to deploy your application. Okay, very simple. Okay, so web app has a many features. Okay, we'll directly interact them, okay, just by showing demos now. Okay, so let me come back here. So let's say, if at all if you don't understand, okay, just click on here, okay, type web app, and here you could see certain option called app services. Go here. Okay, so here, okay, you will be able to see certain at least some technical definition here. Create, build, deploy and manage powerful web, mobile and API apps for employees or customers using a single backend. Build in standard-based web apps and API using .NET, Java, Node.js, PHP and Python. If at all if you wanted to learn more, just click on it. You will be navigated to the Microsoft documentation. Okay, here you could see. Okay, so how we are able to perform the deployments. Okay, what are the options we have? Okay, this is the kind of architecture diagram. So let's say within a resource group, okay, we are going to deploy this particular web app. Okay, this is the web app. So when you deploy a web app, okay, we'll be choosing the app service plan as a underlying hardware, and we'll be creating a storage account also for taking a backup. And if at all in the backend, okay, for storing is any data, okay, we'll be creating a database also. Okay, at this moment, I'm not going to create any database, but I'm just showing it here. And in addition to that, if at all if you wanted to access this particular web app, we can access it using the internet. And if at all if you wanted to have a Active Directory authentication, let's say whenever I try to access this particular web app, okay, I should be authenticated with the Active Directory user itself, not any other user. So we can integrate with the Active Directory also. So that is one of the thing. We'll discuss about this particular things now. And moving ahead, you could see the cost optimization. Okay. When you use the application hosting on on-premises, okay, you might face this kind of pricing. And in case of AWS, okay, you will be saving this much. And but when you use Azure, that is web app, okay, you're saving almost like a 54%. In the beginning, I told you, right, whenever you go to cloud and host your applications, companies are able to save almost like a 50 to 60% of their annual income. So this is the one of the example. Okay, by using this particular web app, so companies are saving this much of cost. Okay, this was the one of the survey directly provided by Microsoft. Okay, so we can develop any mobile applications also. Okay, let's say mobile applications in a sense, like currently we might be using certain Swiggy or maybe some of the mobile applications, right? Okay, so those can be hosted on the web apps also. And this is something about the monitoring. Okay, we'll discuss about them in detail. And scalable across the global. Okay, so we can we can create, okay, this particular web app into any one of the regions, and we can easily scale it. Okay, so let me quickly go back to the portal here. Okay, let me try to create a web app. Okay, so let's see what are all the features are which are included. Okay, let's say here, okay, I'll go with a new resource group. I would say web app RG. And this web app, okay, whenever you create a web app, a specific URL will be generated. Like, if you remember, okay, when we create a key vault, okay, a key vault URL was generated, and when you create a storage account, a separate endpoint was created, right? Same as here. So when you create a web app, okay, so separate URL will be created. If at all, if you wanted to access this web app, so this is the URL, okay, you have to access it. Let's say I'll give certain name here. I'll just say it as a test, okay, and this URL should be unique, and somebody is already using the test. Okay, so for that reason, I'll go with the demo, some random number, and it is working. And now my URL of this accessing this website is demo5698.azurewebsite.net. Okay, and here, okay, I told you, right? Okay, we can have a code based or a containerized based application. Okay, so maybe for the folks, okay, who don't know about the containerized, maybe you might have heard about Dockers and Kubernetes in the market. So whereas, okay, we can host our application in terms of container, okay, like an image. Okay, so maybe I'm not going to confuse you at this moment. Let's go with the default as a code. So when you go with the code base, okay, here you could see different type of codes. Okay, so this web apps, okay, it is supported for the .NET applications, .NET Core, ASP.NET, Java, Node, PHP, and Python and Ruby. So these are the many code-based applications, okay, we can host on top of this particular web app. Okay, so for now, let's say I'll go with the basic model, that is ASP.NET. Okay, so when I go with the ASP.NET, okay, the supported operating system, okay, by default it has chosen as a Windows, because ASP.NET, okay, environment will be working, applicable on a Windows environment. Let's say if I go to the Java will be running on a both Linux, majorly runs on a Linux. Similarly, if I go to the, within a Java, here we have a different again. Okay, so this is the web stack, runtime stack. Okay, if I go to Node.js, even Node.js also, okay, supported mostly on a Linux. Likewise, okay, if I go to the Python, even Python also mostly supported with the Linux only, no more Windows. Okay, so only ASP.NET, okay, so will be supported for the Windows. So let's say I'll go with this one, and let me choose the region as a Southeast Asia or something else. Let me go with the Southeast Asia. Okay, so I'm going to deploy this particular application on a Southeast Asia region. And whenever you create a web app, right? Okay, so we are going to create a separate app service plan. So app service plan is nothing but, okay, if at all if you wanted to up and run this particular application, we need to provide certain underlying hardware, right? Let's say computing power, storage, and RAM, everything we needed, right? So that will be provided by this particular app service plan. Okay, so that is whatever the underlying hardware we have, okay, that will be provided by this particular app service plan. Let's say if I go back to this app service plan here, okay, so if at all, okay, so you could see here, so we have a different app service plans. Okay, so like different let's come down. These are all for the free, and if I keep coming down, these are the basic. Okay, so when you go with the basic, okay, we have a B1, B2, B3, and here we will be getting a certain these are the cores and the RAM. Even when you create a VM also, right? Okay, you will be getting one virtual CPUs and 2 GB RAM, two virtual CPUs and 4 GB RAM, like that. Okay, you are getting, right. Same way here also. Okay, when you go with the basic service plan for the web app, okay, this is the supported plans, and this is the pricing per hour. Same way, okay, we have a standard plans, so that is S1, S2, S3. So here also you will be getting a minimal RAM power. And when you go with the premium one, okay, with the premium ones, okay, you will be getting a more RAM power and more GB also. Okay, so likewise, okay, we have a different ones. Okay, so maybe whatever the ones, okay, you wanted, you can go with it. Okay, so moving up. So for now, okay, so I think, okay, when we create a free trial account, okay, so it is coming as a default. So if at all if you wanted to create a new, okay, you can say new. Maybe let's say I'll give certain name as a, like demo app service plan web app 01. Let me click on OK. And I think, okay, even for this also, okay, it is not allowing me to change the sizes. Okay, I will show you after creating it, okay, how we can change the size. I think, okay, by going with this particular free F1, okay, this particular web app can be, we can use it for 1 year as a free, complete free. Okay. So this is something on a basic page. Let me go to the deployment preview mode. So if at all if you wanted to perform a deployment, okay, so we can directly pull the code from a GitHub account. Okay, so we'll just put the code on this particular web app, and we can just have a application. But if at all if you wanted to deploy a code, okay, we can directly authenticate directly using a this particular GitHub also. Let's say GitHub is one of the source repository. Okay, so like with like stored in a remote location. So if you have a code there, okay, we can just pull that code and we can just create a flow also here itself. So this feature is still in preview. For now, I'm just disabling it. We'll show you how we can host a basic code also for this particular web app. So going to the monitoring. So till now we have used Azure Monitor as a solution for monitoring the infrastructure, right? Okay, so when it comes to the application, okay, so we'll be using a monitoring solution called Application Insights. This is very important. Okay, this is also Microsoft native tool. Okay, for monitoring your web applications. Okay, always remember Azure Monitor is to monitor your infrastructure. That means infrastructure is nothing but VMs, network, storage, and other services, and like hardware related, computer related services. Okay, we can monitor. But whereas coming to the application monitoring, we'll be using application insights. So by default here, okay, we are creating a new application insights. Okay, so enable application insights, yes, and by default it is creating a new application insights. And when I go to the tags, and I will just review and create it. Let me create it for now. So in the meantime, okay, so to deploy the code, okay, so I need a Visual Studio. Okay, so is up and running on any one of the VM. Okay, to have it, okay, what I will do is I'll go back to the deployments. So in the beginning, if you remember, okay, we have created a VM along with the Visual Studio, right? So I'm going to do the template deployment again now. So let's say I'll go with the create a resource, and I'll go with the template deployment. Okay, so this is my template deployment. Whereas, okay, if at all if I wanted to have certain custom deployments, okay, so I can go with it here. Let's say I need a Visual Studio, and here you could see. So Visual Studio Dev VM, okay, I'm getting it here. Let's go with it, and it is going to create me Visual Studio 2015 or a Dev 15 VM from the base gallery images available in the new compute stack. Let's say, do I have anything else? So deploy a new VSTS account. It's not. This is not the one. Let's say what it is going to do. Create a Visual Studio and Visual Studio Team Services Build Agent VM with the okay. I don't need this one. Let's go with the basic Visual Studio. Let's see what it is give. Create a Visual Studio 2013 and 2015 VM from the base image gallery available with a new compute stack. Okay, let's go with the previous one only. I'll go with the Visual Studio Dev, and whereas I'm getting a Visual Studio 2015. Okay, let me select this template, and I'm going to choose excuse me. Let's say I'll say Visual Studio RG. Okay, let's deploy into the West 2 years, or maybe let's choose a different region. Maybe I think okay, most of the VMs are hosted on a West 2 years. Okay, you might be not having a quota to create a new VMs. Let's say I'll go with a different region ad. Let's go with the Southeast Asia only. Okay, and I'll give the username. I'll give the username as Azure user. Let me give the password, and this is the base image, okay, which is by default taking, and a certain DNS name we need to provide. Let's say Visual Studio VM. Okay, and the remaining details, okay, it is taking default. So okay, let me review and create it. Okay, so I just initiated a VM also to have a Visual Studio for deploying a code on my web app. So in the meantime, I'll go to this particular web app here. So here you could see this is my app service. That is the web app, okay, which I created with a name called demo5698. And if you see the URL to access this web app, demo5698.azurewebsite.net. Okay, if at all if I wanted to access this website, okay, I have to use this particular URL. I can just simply copy this URL and put it on a browser. If not, I can just click on browse directly. And when I click on browse directly, it will be navigated to the same URL. And since we just create a web app, okay, so it will give you the normal website like this. Okay, so welcome to Azure, Microsoft Azure. And like this is, I told you, right, this is majorly useful for the developers, whereas okay, they can just put their code, so this type of codes, and they can have a highly available application. Okay, so to deploy the web apps, okay, here we have a deployment centers and certain quick start process. So for now I'm going to show you how we can deploy, okay, using this particular Visual Studio from a VM. Okay, in the meantime, let me quickly discuss some more options here. Here you could see certain app service plan we have chosen as a free, right? Let's say if at all if I wanted to change my app service plan from a free to paid one, if I come down, okay, and here I could see somewhere option called app service plan. Okay, so you can just choose this particular app service plan, and it will be navigated to the separate app service plan page. And in here, okay, if at all if you wanted to scale up, let's say, okay, so I wanted to increase from a free trial to, okay, so currently we are using a F1, that is a free one. So when I go with a free one, okay, I'm getting only 1 GB storage account and certain memory. Okay, so these are all for the supported for the dev 1 test workloads. That means, okay, if you are hosting any application and a dev 1 test environment, we can choose it. Let's say addition to that, okay, we have this particular features within here. So I directly navigate to the production one. So on a production one, okay, here we have a different, uh, pricing tiers and different, recommended pricing tiers and their models. So if I say S1, okay, so here you could see I'm getting many more, features. If you see here, okay, it is directly coming with a custom domains and SSLs. So custom domain is nothing but, so here currently we are using a website like, demo5698.azurewebsite.net, right? So if at all if you wanted to give it to the customer the same URL, it might not look good, right? So to, let's say your project is a Ford. Okay, earlier, okay, we were using the project name as a Ford, right? Let's say your customer wanted to have a Ford.com as a URL to access this website, but your web app, okay, was created on this particular URL. So what we can do is, whenever any user try to access a Ford.com, by default, okay, we can say this particular URL can be navigated to this particular URL. That is, we call it a custom domain. Okay, once again I'm repeating. So this custom domain is nothing but, okay, this is the one. Okay, this custom domain is nothing but whenever any user tries to access this particular 4.com, by default, okay, it will be routed back to this particular URL. So this can be achieved, okay, so with the domain providers. So you might have seen like a GoDaddy and certain domain providers, right? So wherein, okay, they have to register these domains and they need to make these CNAME entries. Okay, so this is what the features, okay, this particular pricing tier is providing, custom domain and along with the SSL certificates. And auto scaling feature, auto scaling is nothing but, okay, if any based on the load, okay, this particular number of instances will be increased. And we have a concept called staging slats. Okay, we'll discuss it now. And we can take a backup of up to 10 times in a daily. And traffic manager will discuss in upcoming sessions. In addition to that, okay, here you're getting a 50 GB additional disk space. So if I keep moving here, okay, so if I go here, okay, you will be getting here backup item as a 50 times, earlier it is a 10 times. And here we are getting a 250 GB storage, earlier we are getting only hardly 50 GB. So likewise, okay, so whatever the pricing you choose, okay, so this particular features will be keep changing. So for now, I'll go with this one and let me click on apply. This is, okay, we can use it for the production environment. And when you go with a isolated one, whereas, okay, to host our application in a specific network, so people can be accessed this particular application from that particular specified network. Okay, that is something is about isolated. Okay, so that we call it as a app service environment. Okay, so this cannot be achieved, okay, with this particular free trial account. Okay, so you can see are not available for your configurations. If at all if you wanted to increase or decrease, scale out or scale up and scale out this particular app service plan, okay, so you need to do it from here. Okay, so let me come back. I came back to the web app. So let me go back to this particular portal here, and let me go to the VMs, and I log into the VM quickly. And from this particular VM, okay, so I have a Visual Studio Code. So from that, using that particular Visual Studio Code, okay, I'm going to host a certain sample ASP.NET application here. Let's say I'll say Azure user. Okay, so let me click on yes. So at this moment, okay, so this particular website do not have any code in the backend. So I'm going to show you how we can deploy a code to this particular web app. And once I deploy a code, okay, how whatever we deployed, okay, it will be displayed here. Let's see that now here. I'll come back to the VM. I think it is still loading. And here you could see I already have a Visual Studio 2017 is installed. Okay, so let me open this particular Visual Studio for now. So from this Visual Studio, I'm going to take a sample template, okay, to deploy my application, and I will host it on a web app. So to load this particular Visual Studio might take some time. Let's wait for it. So once this particular Visual Studio is open, okay, we can just simply log into this particular Visual Studio. From there, okay, we'll be having certain predefined templates, okay, just to have a sample application. So we'll just choose that particular sample application code, and we'll deploy that code into our web app. Yeah, here we go. So whenever you open a Visual Studio, it will ask you to sign in. So better I would recommend you to sign in with the same account, whatever I am using it here, so that you will be able to authenticate to the subscription directly, and within a subscription we can able to directly see the web app. Okay, let me come back here. So as soon as I click on sign in, okay, so here, okay, a login pop-up is coming here, and I have to enter my login credentials. So let's say I log into my Azure portal also with the same Microsoft account, that is azurramakrishna@gmail.com. And let's say I'll pass my password here. So once it is done with authentication, okay, so maybe let me give the password again. Okay, let me verify my email ID here. I will be getting a additional OTP. Okay, so the OTP is okay. Oh, let me try this last time. Just a second, I'm getting the code. Okay, let me click on verify. Let me close this window first. I think it is not taking default. Let me do one thing. Let me close the Visual Studio itself. I'll reopen it. I'll go to the task manager here. Oh, let me end both the jobs. Okay, I'll open a fresh. I think since it is a older version, okay, so it is having some issues. Okay, for authenticating to the Microsoft account. Let's see. We'll try this time. If it is still say, getting the same issue, okay, we'll find out alternatives. Okay, so this is the last time that I'm going to try. If it is not working, we'll see other alternatives. I'm just waiting for my code. Just a second. Okay, here is my code. I think there is an issue with authenticating to the Visual Studio. Let me try last. Or else, okay, let me close this pop-up now. Okay, I'm going to kill this particular job for now. So typically, I thought of show you like creating a Visual Studio and from there okay to host a sample application. But I think here okay, this particular I think it is not supporting with the 32-bit or I don't understand. But let's see. Do we have any other Visual Studio versions here? Let me go back to the portal and let's say come back here. Let me cross check. Okay, do I have any other Visual Studio versions here? We can also install a Visual Studio on your local system. But okay, I have a solution also creating a Visual Studio 2019 here. Very nice. Like let me try to create a solution here itself. Okay, so let's say I'll create a new virtual machine here with this particular 2019 Visual Studio, and I would say VS 2019 VM. Okay, and I'm going to host it into let's say East2S. Do I have any VMs on a East2S? Because otherwise, okay, we'll get a quota issue again. I think I do not have any. Okay, so let me come back here and let me choose the Azure user as a username. Let me pick passwords. Okay, and the rest of the details I'm going with the defaults and let me create it. So I'm going to create a new virtual VM, okay, which has a Visual Studio 2019 latest installed. Okay, and what is the resource group I have taken? Uh, it is by default going to create a new resource. That is well and good. Fine. What I will do is in the meantime I'll go ahead and destroy this particular resource group. Okay, just to avoid the cost and the confusion. I'll just simply copy the resource group name and I'll some completely delete this particular deployment. Okay, now I'm going to have a new VM, okay, which has a Visual Studio 2019. So once we have it ready, so I'm going to log into that VM again, and I will show you how we can deploy a sample application. So let me go back to this resource scope, and in here, okay, I should be having VMs. Once it is done, I can check the deployment status from here also, and it is still deploying. Yeah, here is my VM, and it is still creating the status, you could see. And if I keep the refresh, okay, once it is done, okay, it should be coming as a running. Let's wait for it, because it is going to create a Visual Studio also within a VM, right? So might take some few more seconds. In the meantime, let me copy this IP and I'll open this MSTSC, that is RDP, and I'll just put this particular IP. So might not able to take an RDP because okay, the VM is still not up and running. So let me cancel this thing. Let's see the status here. It is still in progress. Let me try to do refresh once. Yeah, it is still creating. In the meantime, let me quickly check one more thing here. Let's say if at all if I wanted to say copy index. Okay, so forget about this. Okay, let me come back here. Yeah, now you could see it is Rampana running. Okay, let me try to take an RDP again. I'll open a MSTSC, that is RDP, and I'll put my IP, that is 40.71, and let me connect to this now. And here you could see, okay, I'm connecting to a new VM, okay, which has a Visual Studio 2019. So same thing, I'm gonna do that. Okay, once I log into the VM, I'll open a Visual Studio, which is like a Visual Studio 2019 latest version, and from there I'll pick a latest template, okay, having a certain basic code, like I would say hello world or something. So that okay, I will try to host it on a web app, and we'll see once we host a code on a web app. So what are the operations okay we can perform on a web app level? Okay, we'll go ahead and have a look. And now if you see, I'm having a Visual Studio 2019, the latest version. With the previous version, okay, so I'm having a issue okay to log into the Visual Studio. So that's the reason I created a new one. Okay, let me minimize this service and let me open a Visual Studio 2019. So for the people who don't know what is Visual Studio, so Visual Studio is a one of the a tool, okay, wherein it is majorly useful for the developer, okay, to develop their code, okay, to edit their code. Okay, we'll show you that, okay, how the UI looks like. So mostly this particular Visual Studio, developer will be using, okay, to modify the code, to build the code, to uh, to develop the code from the very beginning. It could be any type of code like a .NET or a Java or whatever it is. So we can also install the Visual Studio on your local system also, but your RAM should be minimum more than 8 GB. Okay, if it is below 8 GB, uh, your system become very slow. Okay, we can also have a trial version of Visual Studio installed on your local system, but don't try to do it. Okay, your system performance will go down because it will consume more RAM power. So if your system is having like around like a 16 GB RAM, maybe you can try to install a Visual Studio on your local system. So that's the reason, okay, I'm creating a VM, okay, to have a Visual Studio in it, just to show you a demo. I think just a second, it got stuck. Okay, an error occurred in a script in the page. Else, okay, I'll try to close it again, and let's say the login was not successful. I think because I haven't given a password also, but it is opening a default Visual Studio. So there again, I have to log in again. We'll see the time. So it is preparing for the initial use. So whereas, okay, once it is loaded, so it will give the certain basic templates like a hello world kind of templates, like a ASP.NET related or maybe .NET Core related. Okay, so here you could see, yeah, again it is asking for the sign in. Okay, let me sign in here quickly. Let's say this is my account. So you need to log in with your Microsoft account. Okay, the account which you are using for login to the portal. I looks like here also having some issue. Let me do one thing. I'll close this particular sign in page. Okay, I'll go with it, okay, without login. Okay, sign into Visual Studio Enterprise, sign in with account license or product, enter a product license. Okay. So if not, okay, it is asking you to create a one. Let me try to log in again. Yeah. So it's working this time. Yeah, here you could see I was able to authenticate successfully. Great. So now, okay, let me come back here. Manage Visual Studio profile. I have added my, okay. Exit Visual Studio. So here, okay. Oh my God. Let me try to open it again. I think you should have my login by default. Yeah. And now here, okay. So we can, clone your repository. Let's say if you have any code, okay, stored under your GitHub or maybe Azure DevOps, okay, we can clone directly. Or else, okay, if you have any project or solution on your local system, you can open it here. Okay, the same folder. But for now, what happened here? Personalized account. Your extended trial has expired. License with an online account or a product key. Oh, all right. So can somebody give me their login credentials? Will test it. Maybe like Arjun, if you are here, so can you send your details here? We'll just try to log in with your credentials. Do we have Arjun here? He's not joined. Okay. It is saying that okay for my account, okay, I already exceeded the trial versions because okay I will be to keep doing the trainings okay with the same account. Let's do one thing. I'll try to log in with a different account here itself. Let's say add one more. I'll sign out from here from this account and sign in again with a different account. Let's say I'll close this and I'll sign in again. Let's say I'll give a different account this time. Hopefully this account should have an access. Let's see. By the way, your Visual Studio will be too slow upon the RAM size what you choose. Okay, so here I have a multi-factor authentication. Okay, so I need to approve it. I'm done with an approval. Okay, so I'm done with an authentication. Let's see now. Okay, so I think okay for this account also I'm done with it is asking for the, oh my god, this is an enterprise version. No, no, we cannot do in this one. Okay, I had one more here, which is like a different account. I should not be logged in this one. Let me exit. I think this is like an enterprise edition Visual Studio, whereas okay we cannot log in here. Let's to find out a different ways here. Okay, it's not a pre-tail one. Okay, it's an enterprise edition. Whereas okay we need a separate license to authenticate to that particular Visual Studio. So let's do one thing. I'll go back to the web app. So I'll go back here. Okay, just to host an application, okay, I'll try to find out a different ways. Okay, so here if I go to the deployment models, so here I can go to the deployment center. Okay, so within this deployment center, okay, I can choose okay whatever the ways I can say. Okay, source, okay, I could say the GitHub, Bitbucket, local Git, or Azure repos or anyway. Let's say if I choose the let's say Git, okay, I should be having that particular ASP.NET code onto this particular Git. Let's say if I go back to my Git account, So this is the Git account that you need to create. Okay, so with the same github.com. So maybe don't get confused. So here, okay, let's say I will find out certain, basics templates. Let's say ASP.NET Core, you know, website something, set template I need. Okay, so let's say I'll sell at the end GitHub. Okay, so from here, okay, so here I could see some of the ASP.NET related Chrome templates. So let's say I'll use any one of these now. Let me go to this one, and here are certain, this is a complete code. Okay, so this is how the UI and everything will be coming. So what I will do is, okay, if at all if I wanted to have it on my repository, I can just simply click on fork. Okay, when I click on fork, okay, so what it does is, okay, this particular code, okay, will be coming to my account. And if you see here, okay, if I do refresh, okay, I should be able to one more. Okay, that is like, this is the particular ASP.NET Core Lite code which I have on my system. Now to authenticate from here, I need to authorize. Okay, let's say I will click on this particular authorize, and I will choose my GitHub service. Okay, let me click on authorize app service, and I need to give the password. Let's say I'll give the password, and it is done with authorization. Since I am logging with the same browser, it has taken a default my account. And now once it is done, okay, so here it will display the kind of code base, okay, whatever the branches or repository I have on my repository. Let me come back here. So it is still authorizing. Okay, once it is done, okay, so we'll go ahead and choose that particular branch. It is still authorizing. Just hold on. Let's say if I click on save, what will happen? No. Why is it taking too much time? Let's see. Do I need to authenticate anything? Not required. Let me do refresh once. Okay, so let me do it once again. I'll go to the GitHub, and yeah, so here it has taken my default my account. Okay, so this is the sign in as a my account, that is Azure Ramakrishna. Okay, so whereas I can choose my organization. Okay, if I drop down, okay, this is the name of the organization, and here, okay, I have a repository, okay, which I have okay, just now, and I can say the branch name as a. Okay, so if I go back here, if I get into this particular account, okay, so here is a master is my branch name. Okay, let me click on a master. Do I have any additional branches here? Okay, I have only master, but why is it not showing? Not sure. But yeah, I can just click on save. I'm not getting a drop down itself. Let me try to go and different. Yeah, here I could see now. Sometimes it takes time to load, and let me save this configuration. So now what I'm doing is, okay, whatever the code I have, right? So that I'm pulling here, okay, from this particular GitHub action, GitHub location. So this is one of the way that you can pull the code and here. And now if I go to the overview page and if I try to access this particular application, okay, so I should be getting that, okay, whatever the code I had here, okay, for accessing this website. I think, okay, we need to make some more changes here. Let me go to the deployment center. Okay, so we just gave it the connectivity, deploy and build the code from the preferred, okay, builder. Okay, that is fine. If I go to the logs, okay, it will give what is the, okay, the status is still in progress, it seems. Okay, it is not yet done. FTPS credentials, let's say these are all the user scope. Okay, so I got the error saying that, okay, my run got failed. So that's the reason I'm not able to access this particular website. Okay, so once I hosted this particular website, okay, I will be getting a UI like this. Okay, let me come back here. This deployment is failed, and from here if I click on browse, okay, so it is not done properly. Let's see. Otherwise, we'll do one thing. Okay, leave it for today. Tomorrow I'll take a basic screen. Let's say currently, okay, when I'm trying to access this web app, okay, so I'm able to directly access, right? And we can have a AD authentication here. Let's say if I go to this particular authentication tab, so here, okay, I can add the Active Directory authentication here. So when I add the Active Directory authentication, as soon as I enter this URL, it will ask you to log in first. Okay, so that time you have to give your Active Directory credentials. Okay, that is one of the feature that we are going to look tomorrow. In addition to that, okay, so we'll keenly discuss about the app insights. Okay, this is one of the monitoring solution to monitor your application, and we'll also see how we can schedule a backup for your web apps. Okay, and how we can scale it. So let's get started. I end up, okay, if others have any other questions apart from this, we're going to look tomorrow for deploying your any one of the sample code. If authentication here, let's say if I go to comment also here. Okay, and coming to this web app, okay, so probably just for today, okay, so I think, okay, we got stuck for the deploying any application. So probably you can just try to create a web app, and I will search and provide you certain document, okay, for deploying your any one of the sample code. If at all if you wanted to wish to try, okay, you can just try from your side. If not, okay, I'll show you a demo tomorrow. And apart from that, okay, so we'll walk you through certain important things here, whatever we have. Let's say currently, okay, when I'm trying to access this web app, okay, so I'm able to directly access, right? And we can have a AD authentication here. Let's say if I go to this particular authentication tab, so here, okay, I can add the Active Directory authentication here. So when I add the Active Directory authentication, as soon as I enter this URL, it will ask you to log in first. Okay, so that time you have to give your Active Directory credentials. Okay, that is one of the feature that we are going to look tomorrow. In addition to that, okay, so we'll keenly discuss about the app insights. Okay, this is one of the monitoring solution to monitor your application, and we'll also see how we can schedule a backup for your web apps. Okay, and how we can scale in, scale out, okay, these particular features, okay, we'll look into it in detail, right? So let's stop it here for today. I think, okay, we got stuck it here for deploying a code. So probably we'll see tomorrow. Okay, and you can see, you can monitor the complete data in, data out pages here. Let me try to do it here. I'm getting same error. That's fine. All right then. Okay, probably we did not progress much. Let's catch up tomorrow, and we'll try to finish it. Okay, maybe tomorrow. So before I end up, okay, if others have any other questions apart from this topic, maybe we can quickly discuss. Do you have any questions? Okay, I'll take it as a no. Thanks, guys. Okay, I wish you happy Monday. So let's get started tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.